Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of WeedBudz Radio. I'm your host, Brian Russell. I've been doing some networking. As I tell you all the time, we need to be networking. We need to be on LinkedIn, LeafWire. We need to be where our ideal customers are and where we can learn the most. And a couple weeks ago, we had an amazing opportunity as an organization on the Not Plastic side. We worked with Chelsea Motor at the Lit and Loaded Networking Conference, and we were able to participate and sponsor that event. I love networking opportunities, as you all know. And so whenever there's an opportunity for the team to kind of get out of the office here, even virtually, we take advantage of that. And during our time there, what you do is you get a couple minutes and you get to meet, and it's kind of like speed dating, if you will, for professional networking. And me, myself, the team, we all joined this. And we spent, probably 2 to 3, I think some of us 4 hours in that room because we got to meet so many people. And one person that I think almost the entire team had the pleasure of speaking with and just really connected with was our friend Eman, who is joining us today from Toronto. So Eman, thank you so much for joining WeedBudz Radio.
Thank you for having me. That was a great event. Probably one of the best virtual conferences I ever went to.
Yeah,
It was a lot of fun.
I'm always overwhelmed at those different types of events because there's just so many people. There's so much passion, so much knowledge being shared, and so much excitement. And so I would love for you to have the opportunity to share with our audience a little bit about why were you at this networking event? How did you get into the cannabis industry? And what are you working on?
Absolutely. Well, that was a great introduction. Thank you for that. I feel a little bit boosted up now and energized. I'm ready to go. So I'm a social media marketer, and I basically work with cannabis retailers in Canada. So in Canada, cannabis is legal. So you're allowed to have dispensaries. You're allowed to buy the product. You're allowed to speak about it. You're allowed to, there's certain things you're not allowed to do in terms of advertising. But Instagram is one of the main channels that dispensaries can use to grow their audience and kind of leverage their products and their brand over their competitors. So what I do is I work with the dispensaries to build those Instagram pages, because at the moment that's really the only advertising channel they have. And so I attended this networking event to kind of get an understanding of what's going on in the industry. It's always changing. I know the situation in the US is different. Each state kind of has its own situation, its own regulations. But it's interesting to see how it's growing and how we're able to destigmatize it and kind of talk more about the health benefits and the natural benefits of the plant and kind of how it can positively impact people's lives. I did enjoy the presentations from the speakers that were there, and then I obviously enjoyed meeting with all the people in the breakout rooms. And I got to know that there's so many different aspects in the cannabis industry. It's not just the product, it's also the payment system, it's the packaging, it's the distribution, it's the actual production. There's people who crossbreed plants and create different strains, which is pretty interesting as well. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. So what I'm working on right now is creating content for these dispensaries. And so what that means is basically taking several of their products, preferably all of them, but I know that sometimes gets a lot with the bigger dispensaries, but several of their products, and then we create photo shoots of them. And so we'll set up a little set with props and maybe some rolled joints and some edibles and whatever, and we'll create a scene and we'll snap a picture of it and we'll edit it and upload it to that Instagram page. And so what that does is it puts in the audience's mind that this is kind of a lifestyle image, and you're not really blatantly advertising the product, but you are. But you have to be really careful because Instagram does take down posts that say shop now or like buy now or anything like that, especially if you have the cannabis hashtags too. So it is a challenge, but I'm having a lot of fun. It's honestly fun. I can't complain. I get to keep most of the products after I'm done with them, so it's great.
That sounds like a lot of fun. And what are some of the most significant challenges that you faced with Instagram? Because I know myself, I worked with two different agencies, when I first got started, and the first account we had, I think, was banned within 2 or 3 weeks. The second account we had great momentum, and then that one just with so many restrictions that got added on, and then added 21 plus, you see the engagement drop off, you see everything else drop off. So what are some of the kind of like most significant challenges that you've run into, and how have you overcome some of those?
Well, it's definitely the captions. That's what I would say, because Instagram does scan your image, and they also scan your captions to see what you're posting. Most of the time, if they can tell that you posted a product photo and then you're telling people to shop now, then you're enticing the audience and they'll delete the post. So that's happened twice. If it happens a third time, the account gets deleted, which is why we create a backup account too, and we just post everything to that one as well. But it is the captions. You have to be very careful with how you direct your social media traffic to your website. And so I never say shop now or buy now or sale or anything like that. I just say click the link in our bio to learn more. And when you phrase it like that, the audience understands that the website is where you buy the product, but Instagram doesn't flag it as enticing because you're not really telling anyone to buy anything. You're just saying visit our website to learn more, right? And that's true. They can visit the website to learn more. It did take me some time to learn that though, and it's definitely a challenge with the government of Canada as well, because they have strict regulations for how you can advertise. So you can't entice people, you can't promote the sale of it, you can't say it's on sale or anything, you can't even list the price. Unless it's on the website. You can't list it anywhere else, and you also can't show it being used with alcohol. So
And you cannot have celebrities either, right?
You can't have celebrities or influencers. So if they know that you gave your product to an influencer and paid them to post it for you, they're going to come after you. That's definitely a big no-no. Yeah. So it's a challenge to promote the product, but I think it's also an opportunity to really grow the brand, because if you don't have those influencers or other people kind of spreading the word about you, then it comes down to the brand. Why would someone choose this dispensary specifically over another one? And that's where you can get creative. You can focus more on the actual brand itself and kind of showing the brand mission, vision, photos, lifestyle photos, and kind of just talk about the benefits or the reason why this brand was created in the first place. And that's what attracts that audience, because at the end of the day, people love high-end luxury brands, and if you can position yourself and kind of show yourself as a dispensary that caters to that type of audience, you're going to have success on social media regardless of what the Instagram rules are.
The cannabis industry is really leading experiential customer, just overall experience, and I've loved watching it, because I think we saw the brewing industry, we've seen retail, we've seen a lot of industries really attempt to nail down and dial, and of course some of your bigger brands, they have their own sense and they have their own color, like, of course, but you see a lot of these companies that try to kind of get into it, and I feel like the cannabis industry has done a really good job. I mean, we still have a lot to do, and some of it is, of course, regulation, but I feel like we've done a really good job creating that experience. The branding, transparency is of the utmost importance, I think, to all of us, because we see, and those that put the work in, they want those differentiators. They want people to be able to trust it. And really, when it comes down to it, I think there's still so many consumers in the US and probably in Canada that still may be a little nervous. They may not know how to consume. And so allowing these images and your stories to really tell the story and to educate, right? Like, we don't need to push it down anybody's throat. We need to just make them feel welcome into our community, embrace and have them ask us questions, and then provide the resources for them to learn more. So I really appreciate that. And I'm curious, did you work on other social media projects before you got into the cannabis industry?
Yeah. I mean, what you said before is absolutely true. I do think education is a huge part of it. And I did work with other social media profiles. So I work with individuals mostly. So I have a personal trainer. I was working with a business coach, not anymore though, and a few restaurants as well. And so that definitely gave me that experience of building the content. So you're not going to shoot something every single day. That's literally way too much work. What you're going to do is you're going to plan a month or two of content in a PDF for April, May, and June, mostly for the quarter. You'll snap your photos all in one day. So you'll set up your photo booth, you'll do it all in one day, and then you'll create your captions and all of that afterwards. And so the experience of working with those brands before definitely transitioned into working with the cannabis retailers, because it's hard to think of, okay, how do I post another product photo when I just posted edibles yesterday? Do I post edible chocolates today? Do I post edible gummies? It's kind of the same thing. You don't want to bore the audience at the end of the day. But when you do have that experience where you know you have to plan in advance and then you create your content all at once, and then that way you're able to pull things from this day and mix and match them so it's not all the same content throughout the whole week or month, then yeah, that makes it so much easier. And then it also makes it easier for your audience to kind of follow along when they start to see a little bit of a pattern where, let's say, Monday is educational content, Tuesday is edibles, Wednesday is flower, Thursdays is pre-rolls or something like that. I mean, you're not going to blatantly say it, but they will start to realize it after they've been following you for a while. And it just helps, again, build that brand, that consistency. They start to understand what your company is about. And if your photos are really good quality, then you honestly don't have anything to lose.
How important is consistency to any sort of marketing campaign, but specifically to digital marketing campaigns?
I would say it is the top priority, because as someone who has built their personal brand, I can tell you when I started posting videos on Instagram, I didn't have a plan. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't really plan my content in advance. I would go home, I would shoot it, I would edit it, upload it, and that's it. And what that did is kind of confused my audience because they didn't know what to expect. And every time I would speak about a topic that they weren't ready for, it didn't resonate with them. And so it definitely is the same thing with cannabis industry. So if your brand colors are black, green, and white, and then you post a pink photo one day, they're going to be like, what is this, Or if you're usually posting educational content and then you start posting memes about being high, then they're going to be like, now you look a little cheesy to me, or I don't really take you that seriously, because the pages that do post those memes have a reputation for not being serious, right? And you don't want your brand to be something that people think of as a joke. I mean, it is okay to post memes if that's going to be part of your content schedule, sure. But you can't throw it in there randomly one day and then go back to posting educational content. It's not going to sit well. So consistency is definitely the most important thing. If you are consistent with the way that your posts look and the text and the colors and the type of content that you post, your audience is definitely going to be more receptive to that, and they're going to engage a lot more as well.
I've seen some comedians that have, they've got their book of tricks, right? They've got their kind of script, their jokes, and then all of a sudden they have this offhanded joke about either a different culture or a different community, and it doesn't hit, right? It's the same. That's exactly what I saw as you were saying. That is, you've got this
Absolutely.
consistency, you're telling your story, and then all of a sudden you tell this, well, if you're not a comedian, it's not going to sit, right? Like you've
Yep.
seen people who tell a joke and it's like, well, it was funny when so-and-so said it on that special. Well, yeah, that's part of the repertoire there and part of
Yeah.
the act. But somebody like me cannot necessarily just go make a joke about anything. And that's exactly the same way I see social media. And I think we see it fairly regularly, right? Like, oh, this is hilarious. Well, great. So like maybe your Instagram's hilarious, but not your LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Your Facebook is your serious platform. And I think that's the other thing. And I'd love to ask you this, because I have people ask me all the time, how do you grow a channel? And my answer is I've never been able to grow 6 channels at once really well. And really it's, kind of that consistency on one channel. And then of course you can support it through your other channels. But I didn't know if you had anything that you recommend to clients. Do you kind of have this, let's throw, darts at everything? Or do you try to get very focused on the campaign you're working on?
Absolutely, I do try to get very focused. And this came with personal experience as well. When I was trying to grow my personal brand, I started on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn at the same time. Now, the problem with that is there is different audiences on all three platforms, and I was posting the same content on all three platforms, which is the wrong way to do it. TikTok, you have a younger audience. You're allowed to be funny. You're allowed to do skits. You're allowed to make those jokes that are a little bit, they can
Offhanded.
hit a yes, exactly. Whereas Instagram is a little bit more lifestyle. People want to see what you're doing. They kind of want to see the behind the scenes, or they want to, it's like a highlight reel. And then LinkedIn is, I'm a serious business professional, and this is my, I'm giving you education about the industry that I'm in, and I'm open to business. So I was kind of posting jokes on TikTok that would go on Instagram, that would go on LinkedIn, or I'd post educational content that would go on LinkedIn, that would go on Instagram, that would go on TikTok. My audience was not growing on any of those platforms. So I grew my TikTok to about 600 followers, and then I kind of stopped because I was like, I'm not attracting the right type of audience because I'm not posting the right type of content. So I'm just going to continue to use TikTok to see what's happening, but I'm not going to post any more content until I have the time to be able to create a strategy for this platform specifically. So I focused just on Instagram, and I was able to grow to 1,000 followers within 4 months, which I know is not a lot, but some people have more success, and it depends on their strategy and their industry as well. But once I did that, I was able to direct those followers to my TikTok. And then now I can post a little bit slightly different content on there, that's a little bit more entertaining, or it's a skit, or it's like do's and don'ts of digital marketing or whatever. And then at the same time, I can direct those Instagram followers to LinkedIn, where I can post more educational content. I can write blog posts or little articles or whatever it is I want to expand on for a certain topic that might be too heavy for Instagram. So you're absolutely right. It's not possible to grow more than one platform at once unless you have a lot of free time and people helping you, because to be honest, you're probably going to have to record videos 3 times for each platform if it's around the same topic. LinkedIn likes to use widescreen, whereas Instagram, TikTok is usually portrait mode. So that's 2 videos already. Then you have to brand it, for each video. You can't post a TikTok video on Instagram, or else they're gonna, not boost it. Same thing with, you can't post a TikTok on LinkedIn because there's a lot of business professionals on there, and then they're just gonna be like, I don't know about this. It's kind of what my kids are doing, and I don't take you seriously, right? So yeah, you're absolutely right about that. It does require a lot of work if you want to grow the multiple channels at once, but I like to start with one. My clients start with one as well. And I always tell them, listen, it's better for you to have all these followers on Instagram that are going to be directed to your website, rather than different people on different platforms that are not going to do anything with the information that you post to them.
Because you have to build the community. And so if you've got 2 or 3 people across all platforms rather than concentrated, and in terms of quantity of followers, one of the things that we advise our clients on the Rise Above Media side is we're not looking for some million follower count, some arbitrary growth. What we're looking for is 5 to 10 prospects that are closing within a 60-day sales cycle. And so we try to get very, very focused. And what's interesting is a lot of clients come to us that they want these like big audacious goals of, I want 500,000 followers. And okay, well, what are the goals? Well, 500,000 followers. For what reason? And ultimately, you and I know the ultimate reason is we want more revenue. And so what we try to focus on, and obviously a lot of what we do is B2B, but it's very much about creating that community, putting the avatar of your community as the hero of what you're doing, and then building that long-term relationship. And so I tell everybody, if you want to be a millionaire overnight, probably don't call me. I don't know about you, Eman, but I don't know if you do that either. But
I'm
what we
not
can do
close.
is we'll scale that over the next 12 and 24 months to be exactly where you need to be the authority and the expert of where you need to be. And so it is. And it's hard because I think a lot of us that have really been in social media since, MySpace and then, burning CDs with Napster and all that, it really has been this evolution. And so our followings also kind of reflect all of those years where a lot of these brands, organizations, and individuals they're just creating their project, then they're just creating their personal brand for the first time. And so I try to tell everybody, don't compare yourself. Like, this is your book. And if you're in chapter 2, don't worry about chapter 13, because we've got to get to chapter 3 first. And so I
Yep.
love your philosophy on that. And I think it's a great way to help manage expectations as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. The struggle is sometimes clients will not listen and they'll go buy fake followers. And then you're just like, oh, you just ruined everything, because the algorithm knows when you have fake followers, and your engagement depends on the percentage of people who are following you that are liking and commenting on your posts. So obviously, when you have fake followers, your engagement is going to be low. And this tells Instagram, this post is not important. Therefore, I'm not going to push it up to the top of the feed. Right? So you're actually hurting your own engagement by getting those fake followers who are, and who's going to be impressed by that? All right, 5,000 followers, but how much money is your business bringing in every month? Right? Like, just because you have followers doesn't mean anything. Like, people can have 1,000 followers and be making $1 million, or they can have 1 million followers and be making $1,000.
Some of the
So
most profitable businesses I know have 5 to 15 followers on some of their social channels. And so
yeah.
it's about execution. And I think that's what we miss so much. We're always looking for this kind of like Hail Mary pass that's going to solve our world's problems. And for some reason, we tend to believe that more revenue solves the world's problems. When ultimately, I think a lot of times when we look at the business, even my own businesses, right? I have to advise and consult myself and my own teams. We really have to look at things objectively sometimes, and that's really hard to do. And I
No,
know for those
absolutely.
tuned in, they might have a hard time doing that. And so, Eman, if there's members of our audience that need some help on Instagram and would love a little bit of coaching and mentorship and some execution, what's the best way for them to connect with you and learn more?
Well, they can definitely connect with me on my Instagram. I'm a big believer in sharing all your tips. So I don't really hide anything from my audience. There's some complex information on my Instagram that might be beneficial for people who are already well along on their social media journey. But I do have a lot of beginners tips as well on my Instagram that I post almost every day. I try to be very consistent. So definitely, if you're not interested in coaching or consulting, that's totally okay. There's a lot of information on my Instagram that you can benefit from, but it really depends on how you start. And I think a lot of times people want to wait until they have all the information before they start. But that's not always the best way to go about it. Sometimes you just have to start. And then once you start, you begin to learn where you should focus your efforts and what kind of content you should post. And whether you like it or not, you're going to get feedback from people, and you should use that feedback to change your content. But if you're going to sit there and wait till you have all the information before you start, you're never going to start, and you're only going to slow down your growth. So my advice, there's a lot of information on my Instagram. Feel free to connect with me on there. It's at Eman Designs _, so EMAN Designs _, and so much content on there that you can benefit from. You can also message me at any time. But the important thing is just start. Don't wait until, you do some more research or get a few things sorted out. Don't worry about all that. Start. It's not going to be perfect, but you'll make it work.
That's one of our favorite philosophies. Mike Major and I helped put together the 2 weeks to launch podcasting course. And the first thing that we said was just start doing it. You need to watch the videos first because you need to know how it all works before you start. You can, but just start. And once you commit to it, I think one of the most fascinating things to me when starting any of the personal shows that we produce was just announcing the show was enough doing to get attention, to have a conversation, to engage your community. And what I tell people is, yeah, the podcast is going to be great. It's going to be a work in progress for eternity. But the fact that you're doing something is something of value to your community. And so I love that. Just get started. Don't overthink it. And ultimately, I think a lot of times once you get started, you realize things are so much simpler than you believe. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Be sure to go over to our show notes on WeedBudZRadio.com. That way we'll have all of the links there and you can connect directly through Instagram. We'll have that link there. Go get some social media tips. And thank you so much for joining us on WeedBudz Radio. It's just been such a pleasure. It was great meeting you at the Lit and Loaded conference, and just so much fun to have a conversation with you today.
Yeah, absolutely. Same. Thank you for having me. It was a great pleasure. I'm happy that I was able to educate some people on the cannabis industry and digital marketing, and hopefully I'll connect with a few interested individuals as well. I'm definitely open with that. Sorry. But yeah, thank you so much for having me again, and take care to all your audience members. Sorry, that wasn't a great ending.
Of course, amazing. No worries. Thank you so much. And we'll see you on the next episode of WeedBudz Radio.